The Templeton Twins by Ellis, Weiner. Please turn to page 20 and 21 for Chapter 1. When you hear the bell, be sure to go to the top of the next page to continue reading along. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The story actually does get started. The Templeton twins, Abigail and John, were 12 years old when their mother died. The woman had been quite ill for some time, and her death was not unexpected. Still, it was a very sad event for the twins and for their father, Professor Elton Templeton. There, we have begun. Questions for review. What are the names of Abigail and John, the Templeton twins? Number 2, bonus question. There is no bonus question. Proceed to question 3. Number 3, isn't it a splendid thing that we have begun? Hint, no, it isn't. It means I must write some more. Let's move on. Chapter 2. You may stop complaining because we have begun. The Templeton twins' mother, as we have discussed, as recently as 1 page ago, died when the twins were 12 years old. Now, if I were you, I would not want to read about how sad the twins and their father were. In fact, if I were me, which I can assure you I am, I would not want to read about it either, and I certainly would not want to have to write about it. But I am going to write about it. Why? Because, as I believe I have already explained, I have to. I am being forced to tell the story of the Templeton twins. Why am I being forced? And who is forcing me? Well, perhaps I will tell you later. Or I may decide not to tell you at all. For now, that doesn't matter. What matters is that I am telling you their story. And the only proper way to tell the story of the Templeton twins is to talk about how hobbies and, a little later, their dog. Their hobbies, as you see, will turn out to be very important to what the twins did and why they did it. And their dog, as will be plain to every eye, is completely ridiculous. How is this possible? How can hobbies be so important? How can a dog be ridiculous? Please, kindly stop asking me all these questions. You do your job, which is reading, and I'll do mine, which is narrating. You are the reader. I am the narrator. Do we understand each other? However, I just realized that the one asking the question is really me. I am therefore in the position of having to ask myself to stop asking questions. Will I do so? Yes, I will. I will what? Stop asking myself to stop or stop asking. All right. I hope you're satisfied. I am now completely confused. I would say let's move on, but I don't even know where we are. Let's start over. Questions for review. Number 1, who is the reader? Number 2, who is the narrator? Number 3, do we understand each other? Chapter 2 again. The story, in spite of everything, at long last, really does get started. The Templeton twins, blah blah, very sad, etc. At first, friends and neighbors and students came to their home to cook meals, to help out, and to offer comfort, and the Templetons were very grateful. Then some time passed, because it always does. And while the professor told his friends that he no longer needed their help, he remained very sad. He could not bring himself to resume teaching or to get back to work on his inventions. He spent most of his time in his study at home, reading and sighing. Abigail and John, meanwhile, went back to school. They caught up with the material they had missed and took a test for which they had been absent. They each did pretty well on it. They began to see friends again and to do the things that 12-year-olds do. They also went back to pursuing their hobbies, which we will discuss in magnificent detail very shortly. During this period, it was quite common for the twins to not see their father at all from the time they arrived home from school until dinner. He remained in his study, while they were to be found either in the kitchen making snacks or in their room. And so it was. And so it was. Isn't that wonderful? This is something we normally don't say in ordinary conversation, but which I, as a narrator, am allowed to say without seeming strange or odd or weird. And so it was. After school one day, having enjoyed a snack of frozen waffle and honey, and having washed the dishes, the twins headed up to their room. While chatting en route, which means on the way, they decided to devise a plan to convince their father to get them something they had wanted for a long time. I refer, of course, to a dog. The Templeton twins had been asking their parents for a dog for at least a year. Now, the drama of children asking for a dog is as old as the dog race. I would not be surprised to learn that Cain and Abel, who, as you may know, were the children of Adam and Eve, asked their parents for a dog too. And I expect Adam said, "When you're older," and Cain said, "That's not fair." And Abel said, "You won't have to walk it or feed it or anything. We'll do all that." Then I'm sure Eve said, "We'll think about it." And Cain said, "That means no," and Adam said, "You don't talk to your mother that way." And Cain said, "I'm sorry, but we really want a dog." And Eve said, We'll see. And Abel said, Please. And Adam said, Drop it. We'll talk about it later. And so on. All of it in Aramaic or Hebrew or whatever it was they spoke in biblical times. This scene of Cain and Abel asking Adam and Eve for a dog, it's not in the Bible, no, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. Professor Templeton and his wife had kept putting off the matter by saying, yes, but not now. When you're older. This is, as every child knows, is an outrageous and insulting reason for not doing something. And the twins were as indignant and offended as you would expect. Then, of course, came the family tragedy, and no one mentioned the subject for some time. Lately, though, the twins had begun to feel that a more normal life was returning to the household. So, after the waffles, they went to Abigail's room to discuss the matter. They discovered, as they usually did, that they agreed with each other completely. They still wanted a dog. Abigail was sitting on her bed, wearing blue jeans and a gray t-shirt. She had brown eyes and long dark hair that she usually wore in a ponytail. She looked much like, but not exactly like, her brother. I was thinking, she said, if we ask Papa the way we usually do, it'll be kind of tedious and grim. Now, if I were you, I would immediately think, just a moment, narrator. Do you seriously expect me to believe that a 12-year-old child would use the word tedious and grim in a private conversation with her brother? Wouldn't she be much more likely to say something along the lines of, but like John, if we ask Dad the same old way, won't it be like boring and sad and stuff? Normally, you would be right to ask that. But Abigail Templeton was, well, I won't say she was a genius with words, but I will say that she was very, very smart when it came to words. At the age of 12, you or I might not use the word tedious or grim, but Abigail did. John was seated cross-legged on the floor. He, too, had brown eyes and dark hair. Although his hair was short, he wore gray jeans and a dark blue t-shirt. John, please click on part 2 to continue the rest of chapter 2.